need to verify that, Good evening. This meeting of the Nottaway County Board of Supervisors will now come to order. Mr. Bowen, would you provide our invocation?
Yes, ma'am, Madam Chair. Before we get started, I just wanted to, I'm real thankful that our Commonwealth Attorney, Leanne, made it through the metal detector. Like the sheriff was going to escort her out of there for a minute, so I had to give you a hard time on that, Leanne. Let's go to the Lord. Father, we again thank you for all the things that you do for us. Father, we know that the first day of summer is on its way, and Father, we can tell by the weather, and we ask for rain to continue. Father, we lift those up that who have suffered in storms, and Father, and their families. Lord, we also lift up John Rourke and his family as they're going through some health problems. And Father, we ask you now for us to do the things that are pleasing to you and not to man. And Father, we thank you for Jesus most of all, who came here to die for us salvation, and through him we come to you. Amen.
Amen.
Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Are there any amendments to tonight's agenda?
Madam Chairman, yes, there are. We need to add item K10 to the consent items, specifically food services, No Kids Hungry grant.
All right, so we'll need a motion to approve the agenda with the amendment as presented by Mr. Costin.
Move that the agenda be approved with the amendment.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The agenda with the amendment as presented is approved. Let's see, in our package tonight, we have minutes from the regular monthly Board of Supervisors meetings held on April 21st, 2022 and May 26th, 2022. Is there a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
Madam Chair, I move that we receive and adopt the minutes from both dates.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. The board approves and adopts the minutes as presented. We're going to move on to delegations from the public. We welcome members of the public tonight who have registered to speak, and we're pleased to provide this period of public comment as an opportunity for Nottaway County citizens to voice their opinions on county-related business other than topics for which a separate public hearing is provided. There's a separate sign-up sheet for individuals wishing to comment on matters for which public hearings are held. This period should not be used to request specific board action at tonight's meeting, and if board action is indicated as a result of information provided during this period, the matter may be placed on an agenda for a future board meeting. Speakers are subject to a 5-minute time limitation. When you arrive at the podium, please state your name and county of residence. Richard H. Ingram, Jr.
Madam Chairperson and members of the board, I hope my neighbor won't buzz me out too quick. I'm here to speak about solar. I was not able to attend the last meeting of the board, so I picked through the articles in the local papers, and I want to comment on some of those. I'd like to start with a little information. Google is a wonderful thing if you use it the right way. I Googled Nottaway County sun days. I got 208. So that means 165 plus whatever, we don't have sun. Solar panel efficiency is 22 to 23%. Over a 20-year period, it goes down to 18 to 19%. I did a little thing because I've been kept reading about the county was going to get $20 million from these things over 20 years. So I did a little Google on the depreciation due to inflation. After 20 years, you'd only get 300,000, a little over 300,000 a year. So in buying power. So remember that. And then I saw in the article, somebody mentioned 14 million over 20 years. So where is it at? They can't tell us. I took note of who spoke in favor of solar. A gentleman from Chesterfield who is a lobbyist for Virginia Land and Liberty. I tried to get those people to tell me where they get their money, because I know this guy's not working for free. They never would answer me. So that tells you. It says we're a coalition of farmers, landowners, and other interested parties. Well, those other interested parties are solar companies and Dominion. That's who they are. This gentleman said that our ordinance, the new ordinance proposed, is robust. Well, that's robust in his terms. Let me tell you about my dealings with DEQ. We used to raise chickens. And one winter, it was wet, and we couldn't get on the land to spread the litter. So we piled it up in a hayfield. Some interested party called DEQ and said they got litter piled up in a hayfield. So I shot off a letter to DEQ after they sent a letter to me, and I said, we will get it off the land as soon as possible. Well, the gentleman from DEQ wrote me back and said, your as soon as possible might not be the same as my as soon as possible. So that's the same thing with this robust statement. More business and tax revenue. Not a person that spoke in favor spoke about environment, quality of life, protection of resources. They all spoke about money. We want money. We're going to give you money. One gentleman spoke, and I've seen him at every meeting that dealt with solar. He comes in and sits next to a representative of a solar company. Every meeting. He gets up and says, Nottoway County is being left behind. He doesn't live in Nottoway County. We are being left behind. He's the one who said a 150 megawatt project can generate 14 million over a 20-year to 30-year period. That's changing from what we were told, supposedly. He said other counties are sopping up the economic windfall. Well, ask Charlotte County and ask Mecklenburg County about that. They might have a different opinion. Not their boards, but their citizens. He also said that solar passes the 5 cents test. Not going to see it. I know y'all have written about solar farms and you see it. Touch or taste, I don't believe you're going to be doing that, but hear it, I heard. And this book I have here now says if you have 40 panels, they make as much hum as a refrigerator. So think about how much that would be. And his last one was smell it. And I say it stinks because it ruins rural areas. A representative of the solar companies stopped me outside last hearing and said he'd been working on this project for 3 years. I didn't get a chance to tell him my response. I told him to leave my county alone. But I did want to say I've been living and working in this county all my life. All the solar companies care about is money. They do their damage and leave. But I have to stay here for the rest of my life. I want people to think about that. The gentleman from Dominion said they need solar. Sure they need solar because they sell all their natural gas resources. How does Dominion benefit? Well, they raise your rates to pay for it. And then they get tax breaks and subsidies from the government. So think about that.
Mr. Ingram, I'm sorry, your time is up.
I'm sorry too.
Thank you.
I have this stuff if y'all want to see. It's got a lot of good info in it.
Thank you, Mr. Dean.
All right, we're going to move on to public hearings. Tonight, we're holding a public hearing related to the county's proposed fiscal year 2023 budget. And Mr. Costin, some introductory remarks.
Excuse me.
Madam Chairman, honorable members of the board, ladies and gentlemen, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
This is a overview statement on the budget, copies of which have been provided to the board. I'd like to speak first to some of the general aspects of the budget and specifically to the process that we used this year. We undertook a structural overhaul of the budget. We created uniform account codes We removed unused inactive account codes. We changed category names to reflect actual revenues or expenditures. We eliminated miscellaneous line items, and we combined or separated account codes to more appropriate categories in both revenue and expenditures. Now, to this last point, let me provide some examples. We created a new fund for the LRA, taking it out of the general fund. This followed the advice that we had received many times over from Robinson, Farmer, and Cox, our auditors, and most recently, our legal counsel. Therefore, in the advertisement which summarizes the budget, in comparison to FY22, the LRA is zeroed out in FY23. Again, it's in its own fund. Similarly, data processing zeroed out in FY23 as that work is done in the county administrator's office. Thus, there's an increase on that line item. The Planning Commission, the Zoning Board, Economic Development, all zeroed out in FY23 as they are combined under the Planning and Community Development. Rest assured, the individual functions are still in the proposed FY23 budget. We use the FY23 budget process. Sorry, let me get some back feed. We utilize the use the FY23 budget process to establish a rudimentary capital improvements plan, also provided to the board. We utilized a more formal process of documentation designed to provide more rationale or justification of request, which was very helpful, and I would like to thank all involved as we implemented change to the process. I'd like to specifically call out again Ms. Tomer and Ms. Kelly for their work. Next year, and yes, we are already talking about next year, we hope to add in a sit-down phase. Now, where we are with the result. The result is a proposed budget that balances at $45,689,393, using $325,000 from the general fund reserves for capital-related projects. No change in any tax rates, no increase in real estate. It would remain at 48 cents on the $100 of assessed value. There's no alteration proposed in the personal property tax rate in the FY23 budget, remaining at $3.75 for $100 of value. Now, at a prior work session, the Commissioner of Revenue suggested relief to the level of $3.65. Just this afternoon, the Commissioner provided revenue projections based on completion of the personnel property assessment. She advises this is as early in the year that it's ever been done, so congratulations to her and her staff. This is caused by an unprecedented rise in used car values. A rate as low as $3.60 has the potential to result in additional revenue sufficient to hire 2 dispatchers, 1 dispatch shift supervisor, and 2 school resource officers. Now, more on those 2 positions momentarily, but those 5 positions have been included in the FY23 proposed budget. The board may, at the time of adoption, lower the personal property rate or any other rate, but it may not increase any rate from the advertised rate. Now, a word of caution. Those projections, which the board has before them, are based on 100% collections. At no time has that mark ever been achieved. The rate of $3.60, considering fuel cost and supply chains cost to which the county is not immune, may be insufficient to buffer negative impacts. Staff therefore would support a reduction of the personal property tax rate to $3.65, where any excess revenue derived can be diverted to fund the public safety communication system at the end of FY23. Personal property tax relief from the state remains at $1,049,790, and that has been the amount of relief provided by the state since 2006, and that is set statutorily. No new full-time or part-time positions have been funded in any department requesting or desiring position except those just cited for the Sheriff's Office. Reassessment is due to be implemented in January 2024. Funding is included in this budget for its conduct. That is a factor in contributing to the budget's increase and is an item that will not be seen to this extent next year. The budget established a proposed new revenue sources such as hazmat recovery, filing application fees for appeals to the Board of Zoning Appeals, as well as the newly established Building Appeals Board, site plan review fees. These and alterations to the turkey shoot and landfill policy and fee schedule previously presented to the board are reflected in the budget. Local appropriation to the schools is $5,804,537, composed of required local effort and required local match at $5,391,691, an increase of $689,000 over FY '22. Funding for ANTC of $409,846, which is an increase of $104,954 over FY '22. The school budget includes a $2.6 million increase driven by anticipated special program and grants, which is reflected in the overall county budget. To revenues generally, at the outset, the treasurer advised we need to anticipate lower interest rates earnings for the coming year as renewals occur throughout the year. The Fed has increased rates, but we thought it prudent to remain conservative in our revenue projections. The new DSS cost share agreement, or commonly referred to as the lease, which will be before you later tonight, results in a lower monthly payment of $3,125, down from $5,243. Expenditures generally. The budget proposes a 5% across-the-board salary increase to include constitutional officers and their staffs effective July 1. This is the same percentage increase as proposed in the state budget and in line with other locales. No increase in employer health insurance contributions is proposed. However, earlier this week, we met with our provider and have learned that coverage cost will go up as much as 12% beginning in September. Employer VRS contribution rate increased from 1.02% to 2.41%, and that rate is set by the VRS. Anticipated FY '22 carryover of Board of Supervisors discretionary fund is estimated to be $100,000. Increased legal services based on usage, but staff has baselined what issues necessitate consultation, implemented a gatekeeper protocol, and cite the impactful projects that involved legal consultation, such as redistricting in all aspects of solar, the zoning ordinance, the revenue sharing ordinance, and the fees in FY '22 that will not be incurred in FY '23. Anticipated FY '22 carryover for the courthouse maintenance is estimated at $125,000, and funding included for the leasing of equipment at the landfill should reduce repair expenses. In the same category, specifically to public safety, the dispatch budget includes funding facility renovations to include a third dispatch terminal. Funding requests for 2 new school resource officers could be offset by applications submitted by the sheriff. The budget impact of that is approximately $244,174. Today we learned the decision on this is expected to be received tomorrow. Grant funding would pay for 75% of salary and fringes only, and the position would need to be absorbed entirely after the first 4 years. The budget impact includes the purchase of 2 new vehicles and associated outfitting. Funding included for continued upgrades of the county's Emergency Operations Center as called for in the ice storm AAR. Matching grant funding included for the emergency shelter upgrade of $36,719. This is to increase the fuel capacity on generators located at the schools and can provide additional benefit to the schools if needed for normal operations. Funding is included for the county-wide facility key box upgrade, operational medical director services for 3 of the 4 volunteer agencies, and enhanced fire and EMS training exercises. Just last night, we received a training request on the hazards posed by electric automobile batteries. Distribution method for 4 for Life funding, which is aid to localities, has been amended to include all 4 volunteer agencies. Same category under specifically to community services. The Crossroads Community Services Board is fully funded at $42,000. STEPS is fully funded at $20,939. The Piedmont Resources is fully funded at $17,499. The Child Services expenses are budgeted at $1 million. That's on a path to it be exceeded this amount during FY22. As to the capital improvements program, included funding for the county software replacement project. That's $150,000, which is 50% lower than what was originally estimated. Funding for Phase 2 of the public safety communication system replacement, that's $175,000. And the animal shelter construction funding sits in the general fund balance, or commonly referred to as reserves, while design and engineering cost will be an FY22 carryover. Now, as to ARPA, there are no ARPA funds in this budget, although the board has seen a list of proposed projects, and the board will be able to decide on those once those funds become available. In closing, I'd like to point out that I've used some phrases this evening. Those phrases were earlier this week, this afternoon, today we learned, and just last night. These are indicative of how budget planning and budget management are fluid. We have anticipated to spend a certain amount for a certain thing, but we may not spend all of that amount, which is good. Likewise, we've planned to receive a certain amount of revenue, and we may not receive that revenue, and that's not so good. I also use the word unprecedented when talking about increasing used car values. We remain in an unprecedented time with COVID, fuel prices, and related supply chain issues. The concept of adapt and overcome is applicable, and the staff will do its very best to provide the best advice that it can to the board in setting policy for the management of these public funds, and on a daily basis see to the proper management of these public funds. I'll do my best to answer any questions you may have at this time.
Any questions or clarification from Mr. Costin?
I don't have anything.
Just a little clarification. So our Commissioner of Revenue, these numbers are pretty solid as you shared with us. If we do reduce from the personal property tax to 365, am I seeing that right?
Yes, sir. If the board will recall, at one of the work sessions, we gave you a document that
Yeah, I got it.
that had everything broken out
Okay.
on one page. Okay, this is an updated as of this afternoon with the completion of her personal property assessment. And yes, these numbers are up from what you saw previously.
Okay, so what's important to me too, though, is because thank you for sharing at the end there, Mr. Costin. So what I'm asking then, that if we do that, that does not, and we got to hear what the public's got to say, but I want those resource officers in those schools, and we need those dispatches. So that will not affect that, right?
If you follow down on that page from the commissioner,
Right.
at the 360 and 365 rate, you'll see that the last 2 deductions are on the 3 dispatch positions.
Right.
And the 2 school resource
Okay,
officers.
gotcha.
Again, I would support the 365. I'm a little leery of the 360 because when you come down to that net additional revenue.
Right.
It's getting,
And then your point's well
Getting close.
taken, we may not collect everything. It's not 100%.
yeah, everything here is based on 100% collection, and we tend to average somewhere around 97, 98. 95 has been a low, I understand.
Thank you for that clarification. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Costin. All right. We have a motion to open the public hearing for the proposed fiscal year 2023 budget.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Public hearing is now open. I'll call on individuals who have registered to speak in the order in which they've registered. Speakers are subject to a 5-minute time limitation. When you arrive at the podium, please state your name and county of residence. Sonny Abbott.
Madam Chair, members of the board, name's Sonny Abbott, currently resident in Nottoway County. Many are wondering why there wasn't the what, how, and why explanations for this budget before this evening. The school system presented their budget content, the county, not so much. Budget discussions were held outside of public participation, and the one meeting you could attend and listen to the discussion, just couldn't participate. What I learned tonight might have changed a few of the following. Legal services up to $100,000, spending nearly twice that amount this fiscal year. What's changing? Board of Assessors up from 0 to $250,000. Apparently there's an assessment in 2023. Emergency management way up from $28,000 to $622,000. Includes what? Animal control down from $390,000 to $137,000. Basically confirms no new animal shelter in 2023, correct? Recreation, culture, transportation from $1.5 million to $25,000. I'd like to know who can explain those changes. In the revenue area, personal property tax revenue up from $2.4 million to $4.2 million. That's a $1.8 million increase. Now let's review the proposed school budget for local effort and local match. I called the Department of Education 2 days after the governor's budget was approved, and the spokesperson provided a number and suggested it might change because of the late legislative timetable of approval. I called a second time, days later, and spoke with a Mr. Quinn of the DOE. He provided $3.4 million for local effort, just under $1 million for local match, a total of approximately $4.4 million, a much smaller number than listed in the publication. Add $500,000 for ANTC, and the new total still falls markedly short of $5.8 million. Now, rumor has it that the school system claims it won't be able to add the assistant principals or other staff if all of the requested monies are not provided. I'm unsure if this is questionable math or a true misunderstanding of the process. It is unfortunate that the school system claimed it will have a balance of approximately $400,000 at year end. I shared this information of both DOE calls with the school system and the county in adequate time for their verification. I must trust that Mr. Quinn of the DOE gave correct information. In the registrar's budget, there's approximately $30,000 to correct the current budget due to legislative changes overlooked for the past 6 months. Additionally, the registrar wants to spend another $600 to $800 a week of a part-time on a trainer because of his inexperience. Taxpayers have provided a trainer for 6 months at 138% of the registrar's hourly rate. When will taxpayers be relieved of the excess cost to perform the duties of an employee making $75,000 a year? I believe Mr. Rodney Reynolds is a man of integrity. I'm not trying to undermine the registrar's budget. I question the need for this expense as it seems to be asking to pay for 2 people to do 1 job. What I've suggested tonight are areas that should be reconsidered, better explained, and gives the opportunity to make changes and still provide reasonable funding for all departments and to reduce the personal property tax rate to something below $375 per hundred. Thanks for listening.
Thank you. Celia or Elze?
Good
Good
evening.
evening.
My name is Celia Orelzi. I'm in Nottaway County, and I'm here tonight representing the Board of Directors of Nottaway Cares, as well as our mission to help plan and fund a larger, modern, new state-compliant animal shelter for the county. We're addressing tonight the capital improvement plan. We support the $1,735,717.48 that is the total in the capital improvement plan for the construction of the shelter. But we urge that a sufficient portion of these funds be allocated to FY23 in order to begin construction of the shelter before this time next year. So it's been 3.5 years since the plan to build the shelter was initiated. Much has happened during that time. Donated land valued at approximately $50,000 has been transferred to the county. The Nottaway Cares Build Better Shelter fundraising campaign with a goal of $500,000 now has donations of $221,668 and pledges of $55,000. And you may know that just last week we announced a $50,000 challenge grant from the Barry Morton Parsons Foundation. And we have until June the 6th, September the 6th to raise those $50,000 in matching funds in order to acquire the 50. We are very confident that we're going to be able to raise the $50,000 matching funds. Another thing that's happened is that the final design plan for the shelter is moving toward completion. Work is well underway on the site preparation. So the progress is such that it really is conceivable that it might be possible to begin construction of the shelter this fiscal year. Now, meanwhile, market conditions, the economic environment for construction projects have become very volatile, as we all know. Supply chain disruptions, fluctuating costs, rising inflation are still evolving. Certainly all of this requires prudent assessment, realistic and careful planning and creative solutions, but I like best what Mr. Costin just said about the need to adapt and overcome. Because in spite of this, we really urge you to allow no delay in the construction of the shelter. Not to wait for ideal market conditions. Frankly, we're not sure they're ever going to return again. And to further delay the construction of the shelter would be problematical on many fronts at this point. You know, the chair of Nottaway Cares, Jack Boswell, was unable to attend tonight, except he's here. So the remarks that I was going to make in his behalf, I'm going to, if it's all right, yield to him to make. Go right ahead, lady. He says I can go ahead. Yeah. So this will not be without the same vigor, but I think what Mr. Boswell wanted to convey, had he not been here, was that he's increasingly concerned about the county's liability with the deteriorating state of the shelter. He urges each of you to get a current update on those conditions by visiting the shelter, knowing that you've all been there before. Because there are risks that are presented day to day to the county and to the ACOs working there. And this situation alone requires that there be no further delay with the shelter construction. You know, we have some obligation too to all those supporters and donors and people who've been so enthusiastic about the shelter for 3.5 years. And there are a lot of people to thank. All of them, the town of Burkeville, people who've kept this going, and many people who've hoped for a long time for a county shelter that would provide a high level of humane care for dogs and cats in the county. But hope is not just an emotion, it's an action. We really do thank you individually and collectively for your continued support, for your previous support, your continued support, and more than anything, your future action.
Thank you,
Thank
Ms.
you.
Elsing.
Thank you.
Tom Reynolds.
Good evening. My name's Tom Reynolds. I live with the post office box and crew. I'm in Mr. Bowen's district in Nottaway. I speak to you as a private citizen tonight to voice my objections to some of the line items listed in the Board of Elections and/or Registrar's Office proposed budgets. Let me repeat for the cameras. I speak to you as a private citizen and a taxpayer. I paid federal taxes last year, I paid state taxes, and I paid local taxes in the form of utility taxes and so on, and dog license and vehicle taxes. My grand total tax bill, and I really hated to keep track of this, was about 30% of my adjusted gross income. That's a lot of taxes. All the information I will share is public domain and can be accessed by any citizen. Some may say that I'm trying to undermine elections, and in particular the registrar. I say that none of these allegations carry the least bit of truth with them. The county registrar runs the office and the budget with oversight from the Nottaway Electoral Board. The funding proposed for a position of contracted trainer extension at the registrar's office was not disclosed either to the Board of Elections at the June 7th meeting, nor the Board of Supervisors in the line item proposed budget for cycle beginning 7/1/22. The request from the registrar, which NEB members received on June 14th, is for a new position, because this position did not exist in last year's budget. Money was moved from one line item to another, so it's a new position. And it's not needed, nor is it permissible, based on county policy, during this cycle. The request is included in part-time salaries. The request uses money allocated in the base budget proposal, plus an extra amount submitted as a new request above last cycle. No other county in our vicinity has supplied a trainer for a registrar for any length of time. A registrar should be hired for his or her skills, abilities, knowledge, and motivation in reference to elections. All of the surrounding counties used trained officers of election who are already certified when ad hoc part-time help is needed. This allows Nottaway citizens to keep up with changes to election law and to make a few dollars at the same time. The proposed hourly rate for the registrar is $50 per hour for the trainer. It's absolutely outrageous and should not be funded. It is not required to be funded by the taxpayers. I have heard from many friends who are angry that the registrar needs a training and that the rate of pay is outrageous as well. On an annualized basis, if it were a 40-hour work week, that would mean about 138% of the registrar's base salary. The size of our voting population only requires a registrar and a deputy, one of each. And that's based on research done in Amelia, Dinwiddie, and other like-size counties. If this entire budget, the baseline from last year and the additions are approved, we'll end up with a registrar, a deputy registrar, position is held by Marie Lynch right now, another deputy registrar, part-time because the job is currently posted, and a trainer who may or may not be listed as a deputy registrar since it's a part-time job. And just so that you know, by state law as of July 1st of this year, every assistant registrar, which is staff office help, becomes a deputy registrar. In closing, I ask the BOS to consider reducing the registrar's proposed budget and/or the Board of Elections budget by approximately $40,000 for the line item part-time help to prevent an outrageous waste of taxpayers' hard-earned money. These dollars could be better spent on public safety. I just heard a couple of people talk about school resource officers. Maybe this $40,000 could be used to pay some overtime to supply some school security. Thank you for hearing me.
Thank you. Thomas Cruz.
Madam Chair, Administrator Costin, honorable members of the board, thank you for providing me the opportunity to address you this afternoon. As y'all all know, I am from Nottoway County, Old Shore Road, and proudly from District 4. I will keep my comments brief. I approached your board at one of your previous meetings and informed you of concerns that I had regarding attempts to attack the registrar and electoral board budgets. I've heard those again tonight, probably will hear some more. My concerns remain the same as it was articulated to you previously. I am concerned that there is an attempt by certain individuals to try to convince your board to not fully fund the office of the Registrar and Electoral Board. I believe the goal of this group of individuals is to undermine the effectiveness and efficiency of the office of the Registrar specifically, and I make that assumption based on the other actions they have taken. Your board is also aware of those actions and should be able to draw similar conclusions. My request for your board, as it relates to the Registrar and Electoral Board budgets, is simple. Allow the Registrar and the County Administrator to speak on and address all the concerns that you may have regarding the budget. At the request of the Secretary of the Electoral Board, the Registrar has already extensively addressed all of his concerns, which only recently appeared after he voted in favor of approving the draft budget that was sent over to the County Administrator and the Financial Director's office. Secretary of the Electoral Board did not make any motions to amend the draft budget at that meeting. I encourage the board to approve the recommended budget as put forward by both the Registrar and the County Administrator, and if there are any concerns about anything in that budget, to address those concerns to them directly so they can discuss them. Thank you for granting me the opportunity to speak this afternoon.
Thank you. Rodney Reynolds.
Madam Chair,
Good evening.
distinguished members of the board, other county officials, truly a pleasure to be before you this evening. I had a prepared statement to give pertaining to the budget request. The one thing I do want, I won't read everything because some of my thoughts have changed, but I want to clear up this constantly misinformation being shared about the trainer. First and foremost, the contract for Ms. Lambert was negotiated by and agreed upon by the electoral board prior to my being appointed. Whatever her salary is that she's receiving was agreed upon by the board that the secretary who recently stood in front of you is now complaining about. Questionable, but those are the facts. I cannot tell you why this is happening. When I look at the way the things have gone since I've been the registrar, there are some questionable occurrences. I do not stand here before you today to label anyone or any entity, but pretty much it is what it is. I do want to thank Mr. Carson. It was a pleasure sitting here this evening hearing financial management discussed from another financial management professional. Some of the jargon may have been a little much for most of you, but it was a pleasure for me to hear it again. I haven't heard it in about 5 years, and I thank you. And I also want to thank Mr. Carson and you guys as well for your open-minded consideration of what's been submitted before you in terms of my budget requirements. The line item that was mentioned about part-time salaries, from what has been shared with me in terms of the budget that's been recommended, the secretary stated a $40,000 reduction. It's kind of difficult because the line item is only $33,000, so I don't know how you get 40 out of 33. It can be done, but the math I've been accustomed to doesn't work that way. So again, things have been stated. Misinformation is something that obviously distorts the truth. But I believe you, as a board, are very capable of discerning and discerning the truth. So I thank you again for your consideration. And I want to also invite each and every one of you to the voter registration Father Prayer Day I'm having Saturday at the elementary school. Thank you. Have a good
Thank
evening.
you. Diana Lynn Wilkins Mitchell.
Diana Lynn Wilkins Mitchell, Blackstone, Virginia. Again, I'm standing before you and asking you to first and foremost consider the effects of your decision in approving this budget as it stands. Moving forward, our community is set to face yet more unknowns. Approximately $730 million more per day. That is how much more drivers are paying in gas as of a week ago. This isn't transitory. This isn't a class problem. Inflation is predicted over the next 2 years. The only solution is to save our money. The stock market is down on average 30% on pension and retirement funds. Everything we do revolves around gas prices. Nottoway County needs to be good stewards for its citizens and offer ways to assist and/or offset these price hikes. We need a reduction in the personal property tax, specifically the vehicle tax. I love the idea of 3.60. This is literally a life or death decision that requires us all to tighten our belts. Washington isn't bailing us out. Our profit from, and this is the difference between last year and this year, I think it's predicted approximately $1.8 million more than last year in that personal property tax, the vehicle tax. It is impossible to think that that's a good thing to keep it the way it is. It's going to hurt a lot of people. Each and every department needs to understand why it is necessary to not overspend or even expand at this time. We can't afford it. The citizens of Nottoway County need our advisors, supervisors, and councils to plan to provide a safety net to help many of us that may need it in the very near future. We began our uphill climb with a pandemic, and now we have moved to a different hill, inflation. Right now, just looking at the electoral board and register's budget, there is an obvious overexpense of an assistant. Our community does not need a full-time registrar, full-time deputy registrar, full-time assistant registrar, and part-time help. We cannot afford it. Other similar localities have a full-time registrar and a deputy registrar with part-time help through the officers of election. I fear our current registrar does not understand his responsibilities and the duties he needs to ensure duties he needs to perform in order to ensure everything is completed. First and foremost, he serves the constituents, regardless of party and without bias. Recently, Mr. Reynolds stated he took the name of 16-year-old students to pre-register these students and place them in his system, pre-registration, which is actually something that he's allowed to do in October. This law has been summarized and has a delayed effective date of October 1, 2022. My understanding is that the role of registered voters is sold to third parties. It is therefore possible these children's personal information has been or will be released, and quite possibly we have exposed them to cybercrime. A cybersecurity plan is mandated by the Department of Elections, a plan designed to outline how the integrity of the election and the constituents is maintained, and yet this has occurred contrary to the demands of the state of Virginia. We have a registrar who has had a trainer for 6 months, and the community, the county, has paid for it. And now his intent is to extend her contract through January. We can't afford that. We need a registrar, we need a deputy registrar, and we need part-time help through the officers of election. That's what we need. That's all we need. Nothing more. We can't afford any more. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Tyler Scott.
Good evening,
Good evening.
Madam Chair, fellow members. My name is Tyler Scott. I live in Blackstone. I would like to talk to you about the budget, but I do want to say something quickly. Let us all remember that the Electoral Board is under investigation by the Attorney General's office. And so maybe when that investigation is finished, maybe some of the finger pointing will stop and we'll start getting some facts. I just want to remind everybody of that. But I'm coming to you tonight as a taxpayer, and I'm asking you all to please try to cut spending any way you can. More spending, as we all know, does not lead to efficiency or problem solving. And I'm not accusing you this, but the federal government in particular is so guilty of just spending away. It's almost like money isn't real anymore. Well, it's very real to the taxpayer, and we are about to get hammered. Everybody in this room knows things are going to get a lot worse. It costs me now $80 to $100 to fill up my car. I talked to a nurse yesterday in Blackstone. She can't afford to drive her SUV anymore to work because she can't fill the tank. A cooked chicken at Food Lion this week is $8.99. A few months ago, it was $4.99. A friend of mine in Richmond told me, cheer up, I'm paying $12.99. I have some cost of living increases for you from Delegate John McGuire. And if you know John McGuire, he does his homework. Just listen to this. This is what Virginians are dealing with. 44% increase in gas, 33% increase in airline tickets, 23% increase for used cars, hotels, 23% increase, suits, 22%, tires, 16%, furniture, 15%, milk, 15%, coffee, 14%, deliveries, 14%, bread, 14%, baby food, 13%, soup, 13%, cereal, 12%, 1% for eggs, and that's before the fires at the egg production factories, dry cleaning, 10%, not to mention farmers with increasing fuel prices, fertilizer, and lime. Think what this is going to be for us in 6 months or a year. So please think of that when you work on these budgets. We are tapped out and it's about to get worse. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Judith Long.
Good evening, Madam Chair and Board of Supervisors. I'm Judith Long. My address is 703 East California Avenue, Crewe, Virginia, and I am a Nottoway taxpayer. I sent all of you except for Mr. Vaughn, because I couldn't get his email. I sent you a flyer, an advertisement today that was advertising an event as of Saturday of this week. And it has been advertised as a voter registration day and a Father's Day and Day of Prayer. And it is sponsored, no doubt, by the Nottoway General Registrar. I think you all know that the General Registrar is not supposed to be dealing with religious matters, as he is a public official. Now, prayers before a meeting, that's one thing, and I approve of prayer wholeheartedly. But to have a day of prayer and to affiliate himself with two churches.
Ms. Long, this is a public hearing related to the budget.
Excuse me?
This is a public hearing related to the proposed county budget.
All of this is going to relate to the budget because he is advertising that refreshments are going to be served okay? And we know that that is not legal, okay? Also, it's been mentioned that he has registered 16-year-olds to vote at the high school when this is not supposed to be done until October of this year. I also want to mention that I am concerned that he is being trained at the rate of $50 an hour, and he gets $75,000 a year salary. And if he's able to do the job, then let's let him do it without somebody holding his hand at $50 an hour. I don't think we can afford that, and I think others have said the same thing. And I feel like that he must not have confidence if he feels like he needs additional training or the electoral board thinks he needs it. As a public official, he should be able to simply do the job. Now, when I taught in North Carolina for 10 years, they did have provisional teachers, those who were not quite up to the level of other teachers, and they didn't have their full licensures, but they didn't make the same salary. Now, my argument is, if he's not up to the basic competency level to be able to do it by himself, should he really be getting a full $75,000 a year? I'm also concerned that the electoral board is not allowing us to have meetings in the evenings, even though Mr. Reynolds, Tom Reynolds, has repeatedly asked for it, and as have other members of the citizens who attend. Not many people are able to attend, but we were attending. And I think all of this should be of concern to you members of the Board of Supervisors, because you are funding this board, and you should know what is going on. And I would like to personally invite each one of you to attend one of the meetings. I want to close by saying that Billy Colburn, editor of the local paper and mayor of Blackstone, online said that he was not, when he went to one of the meetings, that it was the worst meeting he'd ever attended in his life. Now, he said that. And he also said that he was afraid that he would be having nightmares about this meeting after that time. I would have to agree with him. You have to be there to appreciate it. And I think that under no circumstances should we be paying $50 an hour to someone who's making $75,000 an hour if he's able to do the job. And I want to also say, I don't want solar panels. I'm just going to throw that in. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, this concludes comments from the individuals who've registered to speak at tonight's public hearing. Do we have a motion to close the public hearing?
So move.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. The public hearing is now closed. Mr. Costin, am I correct that all board action on the proposed budget will occur at a subsequent meeting?
Yes, ma'am. The code requires that you have at least a week between tonight's public hearing and your adoption to the meeting. The staff has, I have recommended in my board memo that you set a special meeting of the board for the adoption of the budget no later than June 30, but no sooner than June 23. And the board could, of course, make that a work session or a special meeting to address any of the items that you care to address. If there are items that you would like for staff to make alterations on now before that meeting, we certainly are welcome to receive those. But you will need to set a meeting, a special meeting, in order to adopt the budget no later than June 30, no sooner than June 23.
Is this anything we need to vote on tonight, or
You will need to vote on
the date?
the date of the meeting.
So, Madam Chair, permission to speak freely and ask Mr. Costin some questions, so, if you don't mind. So, what you're saying is, I mean, you know, we got, you normally, you gotta be at least 7 days to adopt a budget, so we listened to the public tonight, so. You know, you made a point up there a little while ago, Mr. Costin, you said that, just because you budget for something doesn't mean you spend it, you know, it's, you know, and then sometimes we overspend, and so I'm just curious, so I could help, it would help me with my decision making. I heard the public tonight, so I'm just wondering, this person, this trainer, and I hear Mr. Reynolds who said, he goes, they hired the trainer before I came on board, and what I'm just wondering is, can you gather us some information? How many hours has this trainer worked? Who has she trained? And what's missing? I'd like to get some type of fact-finding sheet to look at that.
Yes, sir. We can do that for you.
Yeah. What's wrong, Mr. Vaughn?
The electoral board is the one who does this. And I don't.
Are we allowed to look at it? I mean,
I
can we
don't know
look at it?
whether they've been to the electoral board, but
Yeah, I just,
we're not the electoral board.
I get that. Is it okay though we at least look at I don't see nothing wrong with looking at,
No, we can look.
because I mean, maybe hadn't been here but an hour, you know, I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's important.
Right. Now, on the personal property tax, we cannot go up,
Right.
but we can come down. So I'm hoping that we'll come down maybe the 10 cents from maybe 275 to 265 or maybe lower.
3.
I'd say we do the 7, a suggestion, I mean, I say if that gives you enough time to find, I mean, I don't think it should take that's all the thing I really need to ask, on my end, Mr. Costin, but if that's the case, if we could adopt a budget the 23rd, if that's,
Yeah.
am I looking at?
That's fine.
Is the 23rd?
7 days.
That's
7
good.
days? And 7 o'clock,
23rd.
We need to
What
vote
time?
on that, is that correct?
You need to set it as a special, you need a motion to set the special meeting.
Okay, so a motion to set a special meeting on June 23rd to adopt the budget,
I so move.
Can you specify the time, please?
6:30.
6:30 here in the
6:30?
general district courtroom.
That's my motion.
yeah, normally I'm asking this question without legally to make sure we're right. Usually and just because we usually don't mean we did it right, we adjourned this meeting to reconvene the 23rd,
That's right.
right? Is I'm saying that right?
You can do it either way. You can
Yeah.
continue this meeting. I think it's a little cleaner to call it as a special meeting.
Okay, all right, I got
You're
you.
not technically continuing the meeting.
Okay,
You've
okay.
had your meeting, you've had your public hearing, you've got
And then
your
we-
7-day break.
Okay,
Do the special meeting.
thank you, okay, all right.
All right, so we have Mr. Vaughn's motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second for the special meeting on the 23rd. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the motion passes and the special meeting
6:30, right?
6:30 on the 23rd. Okay, so we're moving on to presentations, employee recognitions. Mr. Costin?
Yes, ma'am. Chairman, members of the board, ladies and gentlemen, we do have 4 people to acknowledge this evening. I don't believe any of them are here, but they certainly do deserve some recognition. Sheila J. Estes and Grace R. Seymour, our senior and deputy animal control officer, both have met that 1-year mark. Unfortunately, neither one of them could be here this evening. They were both here last month as a coincidence. And then also William Logan Powell, he's a carpenter and painter for the LRA. And Kitty L. Conley, she's part-time administrative assistant for the LRA. Neither of those folks are here this evening, but we appreciate their accomplishment of 1 year of service to the county of Nottaway.
Nice.
Good.
Thank you. All right, department reports. We have a variety of department reports in our package. Ms. Bryant, do you have anything tonight for us? This is Diana Bryant, Assistant Residency Administrator for Virginia Department of Transportation. Okay.
I thought you were saying, you know, did you break your foot or ankle not too long ago?
It was my knee
Okay.
last year. I'm still having issues with
I'm
the
sorry to hear
exact
that,
same knee. Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board, Mr. Costin. I just had a few additional things for you over and above what was in your report in the board packet. Christina Woods is the one who's sending you the reports now. She's our new administrative assistant, and she's had some additional ideas of things to add to our report for you. And one of those things is the work orders, and that is what's generated from the number that I provided to you, the 1-800-367 road. Those are the work orders that come into that call center. So just so that the board is aware of the calls that come in and what's outstanding and what we're handling. I did want to let you know that as a result of traffic study on 607, we did put in additional delineators at the Lazaretto Creek pond out there. And we'll be looking into some further items out there as funding is available. On the surface treatment contract, the contractor is working on some punch list items. That project is actually complete, but there are some items to be repaired, as is with the slurry seal contract. They do have some corrective work to do, and we are still waiting for the reflective markers to be put on Tyler Road on 619. The Route 609 bridge replacement that's right at the Nottoway County and the Brunswick County line, that project is due to have a bridge deck poured tomorrow. So it is a little bit late, but hopefully it'll be opening up soon. I'm not sure.
Are you going to close 46 down
Yes, that's the next thing on my list.
instead of building a new bridge?
Well,
Have
we
y'all
looked,
discussed, you know, building a new bridge and maybe raising that one?
well, that bridge is actually part of the dam. And we did extensive studies on building a bridge on both sides of that bridge. And it was determined that where it is where it needs to remain. So that's why the bridge will be closed for approximately 18 months. And the detour will be in place. And that's scheduled to be in place probably late June, mid-July. I can provide a map as soon as one is provided for our public affairs. They put out a traffic notice, traffic alert. We will provide that to the county as well. And the detour is normally dependent on the largest vehicles, the safest route for the largest vehicles, which is typically the tractor trailers. And that's the detour that will be signed. So, and I also want to let you know that we did start secondary and primary mowing this week. So you should see a lot of that activity going on, and normally that's completed within 30 days. Mr. Vaughn, did I answer your question? Did you have anything else on 46, Route 46 bridge? Is that it? Okay. Okay, and that is everything additional that I had. Does the board have anything for me, any concerns?
You said on Lazaretto Creek?
Lazaretto Creek, yes.
What are you doing on Lazaretto Creek?
That
The
pond there.
pond. Is that gonna be paving on that road soon?
I'll have to look at the 2-week look ahead, but I think the paving on that road was completed.
Okay, thank you.
I was just thinking trucks coming off of 95 as well as 85 run 46. And now they'll either have to come through Cambridge or go up to McKinney and take 40 to get over to 360 or 460.
I haven't studied the detour, but I think the detour goes down 137, goes around Dundas and 138. But I would have to look at it to be sure.
Madam
Thank
Chairman.
you, Ms.
Ma-
Bryant.
Mayor.
Okay.
And Diane, just for the clarification, what you all sign is for the heaviest vehicles.
Yes.
So
Largest.
if somebody knows the local back roads, they're not obligated to take the detour if there's got another way. Okay. That was a concern for a couple of my folks today. So for anybody else that's interested, you don't have to follow the signs if you know another way, as long as you're not driving a big truck.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bryant.
Let's see, Nottaway County School Board, is Dr. Grimes here or anyone that wishes to speak on behalf of the school board? Okay.
Yeah, we can have a school report. I do have one thing to add.
Okay.
And they're here wonderfully. I'm so happy, because if you have questions, I'm going to be of no use. School's finance director, Ms. Meyer, has informed staff this week that the final Department of Education numbers have come in, as they do typically near the end of the school year every year. The final ADM was less than what their estimated budget was based on. So that essentially reduces the county's required local effort and match to the schools.
For FY '22.
For '22, yes. So I'm at the point where I need to make that final payment to the school of the local appropriation. And it is my intentions, unless you all instruct me different tonight, that I will be reducing the local appropriation by that amount of $324,106.
You just reporting to us or asking?
If you all don't disagree with that plan, we're good.
To Mr. Bowen's point earlier, this is one of those examples of where you budget and maybe you don't spend as much as you had budgeted.
Right.
Okay.
And this is
All right, so the train has left the station, and I'm still back at the station here, so, Ms. Katie, is this for this is for really next fiscal year, right? So
No, sir.
this is something.
This is
No,
for
this
FY
is this
'22.
year.
Okay,
This year.
This is
okay,
This
okay.
is the
I-
true,
that's
this-
what-
they call it the true-up number.
Right.
This is the
Correct,
true-up
right.
number.
It's true
Okay.
up, essentially. Yes.
Oh, so the real number, it took,
The number,
this was so confusing, it took them that long to come up with the real number. I mean,
the number that they the number that they used in terms of school population.
I'm not saying school board did that. I'm not saying, please don't y'all think I said that. I was talking about the Richmond or whoever does that, right?
Right. The number that they
Okay,
were provided with to do their financial planning.
I got you.
In reality, in terms of people in the seats, that number was lower, so everything else
I got
gets
you.
lower.
Okay.
Okay.
I would like to say that I find it prudent to say how much I appreciate them being that transparent, because that hasn't,
Oh, yeah,
that
most
hasn't always
definitely.
been the practice, so.
Good.
Mr. Hyde, do you wish to speak to your report on emergency services?
Madam Chair, I'll let you have some questions. I think I'm up on the podium in a few minutes
Yeah.
anyway.
Okay,
Would like to have that.
thank you. Mr. Zodi?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Greg Zodi, still in Nottaway County. I just wanted to make an addenda tonight that the Comprehensive Plan Committee met. We had a special work session, well, a regular work session, excuse me, last Tuesday, the 14th, and we discussed the Comprehensive Plan amendment regarding solar. I presented several options to the committee members, and the two ideas, well, the two options were to create a spot amendment to the comprehensive plan now, or just incorporate this discussion about the renewable energy into the regular update that's being performed by CRC. And the Comprehensive Plan Committee did decide to incorporate the solar ordinance, or renewable energy, excuse me, into the regular update schedule. So we're looking at the Comprehensive Plan coming before the board, I believe in October or November of this year for public hearing. And I did provide some information. I have concept plan.
I appreciate you doing that too, Greg.
You're welcome, sir. Let me share, I've only got one
Well,
more.
Oh, I've looked at it at the meeting.
And
yeah.
I've seen it, so I'll.
So when you, I know you're going to explain it, Mr. Zodi, so is it a mile across from the outer borders or a mile from the transmission line? I know you're going to explain that in a minute, but I can remember when I got.
Yes, sir. Well, the purpose of this map was a concept map, just to look about how we could perhaps compromise, depending on the board, you know, how the board wishes to direct staff to proceed after the comprehensive plan amendment. What we did was look at the transmission lines running from the east side to the west side of the county, and then south, going down 49. And what I did was look at 1 mile boundary on each side of the transmission line, going from Burkeville all the way down to Blackstone, and then from Crew going all the way down 1 mile short of the Nottoway River. Because the language I wrote said that we have to protect our natural resources. And we also want to, especially the Nottoway River. We heard a lot of discussion from the public regarding that. And I felt that if we're to compromise or to proceed with renewable energy, then we should have an area that's 40 square miles, which is about 13% of the total area of the county, where it would be preferable or recommended if people were to apply for solar, if the board, again, if we adopt a zoning ordinance for renewable energy. So that's really it. We're looking at 40 square miles and that's, like I said, 13% of the county's total area, which is, 13% is 316 square miles. So that was really it, and I think we're going to continue with the regular progress of the comprehensive plan moving forward, going into section 6. So we're seeing the end of the road with regards to the comprehensive plan update.
Thank you, Mr.
And just add, I would like to add some, Madam Chair, too. It's something the board needs to be thinking about, because we don't really, we've thrown out ideas. When it's time to have a public hearing for the comprehensive plan, we can have a joint public hearing with the Planning Commission. The committee, the pulse of the committee, they feel like that might be a good idea, but that has not gone in front of the whole Planning Commission yet, and through the chairman. But it's a possibility we could have a joint public hearing once that comprehensive. It may not be a bad idea.
Yeah, okay.
Right. Just a thought.
And I would like to just make the observation that the comprehensive plan is not just about solar.
Oh, no.
It's going to address
No, that's right.
economic development and historic natural preservation, transportation routing. I would hope that no one just focuses on solar and doesn't look at the other stuff.
Yeah, and we have to remember that one of the main purposes in state code is to have a 5-year update. Every 5 years, just update or review, I believe it's statutory language, to review the comprehensive plan and then make future land use goals and objectives and whatnot, and update the demographics.
And hopefully, if we get it right this time, the review process will be pretty quick.
I hope so.
Yeah, instead of going through this again.
Then we submit, I believe we still submit to to the Virginia Department of Transportation.
Right, all right.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Are there any other departmental representatives who wish to speak to reports provided in tonight's package? Board members, any questions about the reports? All right, we'll move on. Constitutional officers' reports and comments. Ms. Watrous, anything tonight for us? Sheriff?
Whoa. I'd just like to take a moment to thank the board. Y'all put in a lot of work, the board and the staff, for what the sheriff's office is trying to do. We got a whole lot of new initiatives that we're doing. And I ain't gonna say they're wants, they're needs, and y'all are doing a great job making sure we can get to that point. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other constitutional officers present? All right, we'll move on to unfinished business. Animal shelter update. I think Ms. Elzay at the public hearing made some remarks and talked about the CARES Committee fundraising efforts. And as advertised recently in the local paper, they are working on the Mary Morton Parsons Foundation 50,000 grant, the approval of which, the final approval is dependent upon raising a matching amount in donations. So to citizens who would like to support the shelter, this is an excellent time to consider a donation, knowing that your donation is contributing to the approval of this important grant. Mr. Costin, do you have any other updates on the shelter?
No, ma'am. I have been trying to engage with the designing engineer. He has been out of the office extensively for personal matters, and but we have a tentative phone call set for tomorrow.
Great.
And we'll pick up on the revisions that are under consideration.
Well, Madam Chair, just to speak freely here. So, and I heard her comment tonight. So, I think the board is still. I mean, I feel like the board is still moving forward. We want to build an animal shelter. I don't want anybody to think that we're not. What the problem had been is like she said, can we get the materials, and can we build the animal shelter that we had dreamed of? You know, because the way the cost is like.
It's just about double.
He almost said like 300%. Some of it, you know. It's anyway. So that's where we kind of stuck in between now. You know, what are we going to take? Well, I mean, what's reasonable? What's and you heard the taxpayers. You know, you heard that tonight too about are we going into a recession or what's happening right now? So that's anyway. But I just want us to be clear. We still want to move forward. We're not saying we're not moving forward.
Definitely agree. We need to be moving forward.
Okay.
To the degree possible.
Anyway.
Facilities cost agreement, Department of Social Services, Mr. Costin.
Yes, ma'am. Members of the board, you have in your packet proposed a facilities cost agreement, and most people would say a lease. This is the agreement by which the county basically has a Department of Social Services local office established in the community. Right after I got here, I was informed by the retiring director that the lease was up for renewal. And of course, there was an interim, and then Ms. Reed. We actually made some good progress with Director Reed. The prior lease seemed to have just been automatically, the prior facilities cost agreement seemed to have just been automatically renewed year after year. Someone in Richmond caught the nuance that the building has already been bought and paid for. There was a renovation done, and therefore we were under the wrong type of lease. So the adjustments were made, and those adjustments have resulted in a monthly rental of $3,126, down from $5,423. It will also rely on our auditor's determination on the amount that we are to be reimbursed at the end of the fiscal year for water and electric. And because we carried over, this was an action by the board, we carried over the terms of the old lease with the understanding that we would true up the cost at the end. We will have to reimburse the Department of Social Services $6,541.26. So this is essentially going to be a retroactive facilities cost agreement. The regional administrator for DSS, Director Reed, and myself are all in agreement on this. We don't have too much nuance and too much variation that we can give on this, and so we recommend this agreement to you this evening.
Any questions for Mr. Costin about this?
No. Madam Chair, I move that we authorize our chair, who is you, to execute this agreement.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion as presented passes. We'll go on to new business. Mr. Constant, SVCC deed.
All right. Madam Chairman, members of the board, I hope you can find the humor in what I'm about to say. You just can't make this stuff up. We have determined that the board in 2014, 2015 went through all the necessary protocols, had a public hearing to convey property to Southside Virginia Community College Foundation. The deed was drawn up, the deed was signed by parties here on the county side as well as the foundation side, and it seems to have been lost. It's unclear if the deed, there was a copy in the possession of the foundation, but I don't know if that copy, fully executed deed, never made it back to the county, or it made it back to the county. Long story short, it was never recorded. So what we have done is we have updated that deed to reflect the current chair and the current county administrator, and the staff recommends this deed be executed so that it could be forwarded over to the foundations for them to execute and for them to record as the grantee. Be happy to take any questions you have on this.
Any questions? So do we have a motion to authorize the board chair and county administrator to execute the deed of gift before us tonight, said deed to Southside Virginia Community College Foundation, and said action based on the board's actions in December 2014 and May 2015?
So moved.
A second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
Okay, motion passes.
A second.
Board of Zoning Appeals nominations, Mr. Zodi.
Good evening, Greg Zodi, Town of Blackstone. See, what we have before you tonight is we currently have 3 members out of 5 whose terms are expiring on June 26th of this year. One is District 3, Mr. Gregory, Thomas Gregory, is currently serving in that capacity, but District 2, if pending redistricting is approved. District 5, James McDaniel, and District 1, Roger Norton, all have expressed an interest to be reappointed. Staff recommends that the Board of Supervisors nominate those 3 candidates. They would then be submitted by staff to the Circuit Court for approval with terms ending in a different year, so we have staggered terms. The current members can remain in their positions until an appointment is made by the court. The remaining 2 members, District 3, Clarence Allen, and District 4, William Collins, terms end on December 31st, 2023. Staff proposes that the Board of Supervisors change the future term dates from December 31st to June 26th to make all 5 member terms begin and end on the same day and month per the attachment, which has I believe you all have that in your packet. Staff has drafted future term dates for all 5 seats that extend through 2028 for the board's consideration. Staff's suggested motion is to move to nominate the Circuit Court, Mr. Gregory, Daniel, and Norton to the Board of Zoning Appeals to the following terms. 1, Mr. Gregory, term ending June 26, 2024. Mr. McDaniel, term ending June 26, 2025. And Roger Norton, term ending June 26, 2026. I did just attach a reference of 15.2-2308 of the Code of Virginia.
Any questions for Mr. Zodi about this?
You did say all of them were interested in retaining the position?
Yes, all 3, yes, ma'am.
All right, do we have a motion to submit to the Circuit Court the nominations to the Board of Zoning Appeals as set forth by Mr. Zodi?
I so move.
A second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the motion for nominations as presented is approved.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Hyde, DHS NWS Flood Management Sensor Project.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Mr. Costin, staff, and citizens, good evening. Before you in the board packet is a new project that we were approached by Department of Homeland Security on. It's a pretty exciting project, actually. It's something that's been around for a while. Flood sensors in rivers and tributaries is something that's been around for decades, but the programs have come and gone. They have revived this program. There are sensors upstream or downstream of Nottoway River. And what this package is about, I put a PowerPoint slideshow in your board packet along with a MOA between the board and the Department of Homeland Security and the Virginia Innovation Partnership Authority. And this is a partnership between what we call VIPA, Virginia Innovation Partnership Authority. Department of Homeland Security is the other partner, and the third partner is the National Weather Service, or the National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA. So those partnerships are out there to determine what kind of flood data we can get. So really, just to be concise about the purpose of this, is to gather flood data. Nottoway County does not have a flood sensor. I had them do a check. I called up National Weather Service. We looked in the various websites, the various GIS maps, and we currently don't have one. So what we're proposing here is to put Nottoway on the map with data, and also to give that data an opportunity to make it to their database that allows you to prepare for a flood. And if some of you remember back in the 90s, I believe it was 99, when Franklin was flooded so bad, you know, it's pretty close to south side of Virginia. They're a little bit tidewater, but they're a little bit south side. You know, that was like, I believe, a 100-year flood or even a 500-year flood. And we kind of laugh sometimes when we say 100 and 500, but you never know. And we have seen those historic floods in the past decade. And we know that no matter what number you put on it, 100, 500, or whatever, that it can happen to any county in Virginia, in any county in the nation. So what we'd like to do is go ahead and put a sensor in Nottoway County. And I'm always looking for ways to use other monies. And so in this case here, if you'll turn over to the back of your PowerPoint slides, the copies that I gave you, under obtaining flood sensors, it's going to be 3 pages from the back. The flood sensors, Department of Homeland Security is providing the flood sensor at $3,730. So that's their commitment. They're spending almost $4,000. And the only thing we have to spend is a local maintenance fee just to keep it here in the locality. And then we're just like any other locality. And there's 110 sensors now in Virginia, and they're actually looking to go to 150, is what he told me today. So this is a basic, just a nominal fee, $72, which is $6 a month times 12. That's for your data transmission. So when you mount the sensor on a river, like the Nottoway River, it projects the satellite GIS signals, and the data transmission is not free. So it's upon us to do that, but it's $72 a year. Then you have a $500 data service fee, which is a one-time fee. You can have 100 sensors or you can have one sensor. The good news is if we decide to do additional sensors, you don't pay this again. So the $500 is for data service. That is paid to the IntelliSense Incorporated, which is the company that's doing the partnership. The first fee I mentioned, I forgot to tell you, is paid to Direct Communication Solutions, which is another partner. All of these are dealing with state and federal partners. And then you have one $15 sensor fee, which is just one fee per year per sensor, so only $15 for a year. So the total for a year is $587. So we're proposing putting one sensor in. In relation to what 587 means, we know we're in tough times. We know this is, possible, as you said earlier, recession, but 587 in the terms of emergency services, if a flood occurs, that's about the deductible of one person's car flooding. And if it's a $100 deductible, on a citizen's car that's 5 cars flooding. So it's about the equivalent to a deductible on insurance premium for just one citizen or maybe a few citizens. And we know from looking at Texas, if you ever do have a flood, you know, you have multiple cars and they're ruined. And then you also have homes. Let's don't leave homes out. What is the deductible on a home? So even though people have insurance, there's cost to the deductible. So we, over the years, could provide data and know exactly what Nottoway County's tributaries are doing. In this case, it'd be the Nottoway River. And what we're proposing is putting one upstream. So we'd like to start there, and we'd like to ask them for their advice when they install the one to see if there's a possibility that we need another. I would like to talk to the town of Blackstone about the area where the reservoir is. That's downstream. It's possible that they could do one under their municipality. But what we're looking at here is out in the county. And we're looking at, not within any town limits, but somewhere around the Nottoway or the Little Nottoway River is what we're looking at. We don't know the exact location, but we want to go upstream. That's the key word. And so you have a motion in your package, and what staff is proposing tonight or requesting is that you allow the county administrator to execute the partnership agreement with the MOA. The memorandum of agreement is in front of you, and it just simply has the terms of what the sensor program is about. The maintenance cost, which you'll see on your packet, we are going to get donations for that. That's simply things you can go pick up at a hardware store. And growing up in a volunteer fire department through my career, we just said we can handle things like that. So I'm saying we can handle things like that. It's going to the hardware store and asking for a few posts, a few bolts, a few nuts, and so forth. So we didn't include those costs because we believe Nottoway County citizens will help us with that. So $587 is the total.
All right.
I'm here to answer any questions.
All right, so do we have Steve, you have any questions?
No.
We have a motion to approve the recommendation to install and maintain the flood management sensor as presented by Mr. Hyde.
I move to approve the staff's recommendation to install and maintain one flood management sensor with the annual local cost as presented and allow the county administrator to sign the memorandum of agreement between the Virginia Innovative Partnership Corporation and the County of Nottoway, Virginia.
I second that motion.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, the motion.
I should have, no, you carried, I'm sorry, Madam Chair. I should have asked this question. So, you know, it hit me. You can't put that thing too high because we got to know ahead of time this flood, right? So, is it a certain feet? You see what I'm asking about it? You know.
It's a sliding mechanism, and it also has a satellite.
And then alarm goes off and goes to somebody's phone or something?
Right. I've gone out to the Nottoway River downstream and seen the one in McKinney.
Yeah.
And it's basically a pipe in the side of the river, and as it goes up in flood stage, you know, it allows the sensor to hit, and it sends a signal out.
Right.
So
But you can't, what I'm saying is, if you wait too late, you can't warn people downstream, right? I mean, you know, you got to.
Well, that's the idea, is to go upstream, because we don't have any upstream.
I got you. All right, yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Hyde.
Interesting.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the board, for your support on that. If I may, Madam Chair, I had a couple, you asked me about an update, couple things just to mention to you. Just wanted to let the board know the good news, the Code Red consolidation went through fine on June the 6th. We mentioned that at the last board meeting. So that was good, partnership with the towns. And also just wanted to let you know that in these tough times that we're busy pursuing grants, trying to find other sources of money, because that's the way to accomplish good things, needed things when there's tough times. So we have put in for another grant for a generator, and we're hoping to get good results from that. We don't know when the results will be back. As Mr. Costin mentioned, we do have one generator grant already, and then we're also pursuing another funding source for the radio system. So we've been very busy with working with some congressional officials on trying to get money for that as well. And just in closing, Madam Chair, members of the board, I didn't do this in the last couple presentations, but I just want to give a shout out to the people that I work with outside of county government, but connected to county government, and they are the fire departments and the EMS agencies now. We're in real tough times with COVID coming back up. Diesel fuel being so high, every unit they run is diesel powered. Emergencies don't know when it's bad times. Emergencies happen, and they're going up as well. So I want to give a shout out to Blackstone Volunteer Fire Department, Crew Volunteer Fire Department, Burkeville Volunteer Fire and EMS, Nottoway County Emergency Squad, Department of Forestry in Nottoway County, and Fort Pickett Fire Rescue. Those 5 agencies plus forestry, we work hand in hand together, during the week. Communications, even when there's no event going on, we all communicate. And they just, when you see them, thank them on the street. It's, they're all working hard and they're doing an excellent job. And with that, thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Costin, donation request for Juneteenth celebration.
Yes, ma'am. We have 2 donation requests. The first is for the Juneteenth celebration, and we'll take those individually, but there's some of the same background information overlaps. Back in April, Wanda Dyson came to you asking for support. There was a verbal follow-up and then a subsequent written communication, which you have. State law does allow you to make donations, but it sets out what or who you can donate to or what for. And we have this particular group, the Town of Blackstone Juneteenth Committee, Juneteenth Committee does not yet have 501c3 designation, so you cannot contribute to them. However, they're receiving a tremendous amount of support from the Town of Blackstone, and you may contribute to the town earmarking that contribution for towards their efforts. So basically, a bit of an offset. Staff is suggesting a contribution of $500 to the Town of Blackstone for the purpose of offsetting costs incurred in support of the 2022 Juneteenth celebration. Happy to take any questions you may have.
We have not been given to organizations that come to us. We do make a personal, if you want to, you make a personal donation, and that's what we have done. But if you think of the various organizations in the county, and there are many of them, this board would constantly be donating.
Right.
We do donate to the schools, for example, if the band, because we have a fiduciary responsibility to the schools, but we don't to local organizations. So my suggestion would be to deny this request.
Are you putting that in the form of a motion?
Can we have a little further more
Want to
discussion?
comment first?
So,
I'm going to get it on the floor after.
yeah, I'm sorry, yeah, you're exactly right, Madam Chair, I interrupted you. You go, yeah, he did say that, I'm
Putting that
sorry,
in the
I
form of a
apologize.
motion.
I will. I was going to let Mr. Bowen speak.
Well, if we can have a second to the motion, then we can put it on the floor for discussion.
Second.
All right.
Yeah,
Any
thank you, Madam
discussion?
Chair. Sherman, you're right, but, all right, so it's something that we could consider. We give money to each town, I'm not right, Katie, help me out, with recreation. And I always wanted to look, I don't think we give enough to them, so why can't we give more money to recreation / events? They can do what, the town can do with what they want to do with it, if they want to give it towards the celebration, because I hear you, because when I first looked at it, I said, we don't know we've done this, but then when I started reading the vision of the Juneteenth committee, if you said you're giving $500 to the town of Blackstone for the Juneteenth celebration, and you stop there, it doesn't tell the story. But if you say for the celebration to assist them with the vision of accepting each other and educating others on Black history, now you done something. You say, I don't think it's the same celebration. Like, it's not a chicken festival. You with me? I'm struggling with that. I mean, I hear you, bro. I hear you. But we have a great divide in this country right now, right?
Yes, we do.
And I just, to hear somebody trying to do this, and I know I got to be careful. I know what you're going with it, Mr. Vaughn. You're saying, well, we may be setting some type of precedence, and I'm not arguing with that, but their vision is really to educate people.
It's a beautiful affair. I'm not against the affair. It's a lot of organizations in the county that do a lot of wonderful things. But when you start giving taxpayers' money to these organizations, what are you doing?
Right. But we're not giving it to the organization, we're giving it to Blackstone. For the purpose of that. I get it, right. It's the purpose.
And now, next year, this group or any other group could come forward to you, and I'll point out to you that the code section 15.2953F says just because you give 1 year doesn't mean you have to give another year or to another group.
Well, your thinking there, Ted, is you don't have to give to another. But once you open up the gate.
All right, and I hear you, brother. So look, Mr. Vaughn, say I agree with you and Helen, and we don't vote for this. In 7 days, we're going to adopt a budget. Couldn't we ask Mr. Costin and Ms. Tomer to see if we could up the money for rec / we can call it what we want to, and let them do what they, because we haven't been given enough. We've all agreed upon that. We haven't been given enough money for our children.
I second it so we will have a second for discussion.
Right.
Not that that's what I.
Oh yeah. I'm sorry. I apologize to you,
Right.
Ms. Simmons. I apologize. Yeah, so we can get the discussion going. But that way, it prevents what you're saying could happen. Like, somebody else calls it like they're going to educate, then it's a, don't be offended anybody, it might be a drunk fest or something, you know what I'm saying? Right? I hear you. And we don't want our taxpayer money going to that. But educating our children and our community, that's pretty neat. Anyway. So what y'all think? I mean,
we've had little leaguers come and they had.
I know.
They had won.
I knew you were bringing
it up. The trip.
Yeah, they talking about baseball.
They talking about baseball, and we didn't give them.
What is, how much, I'm sorry, Madam Chair, to speak to her. So, how much money, Katie, do we give to the towns for rec? Each town, 6,000, oh, wow, see, we're giving 2,000 to each town. And Burtford leaves the light on up there sometimes so people can keep playing soccer. I'm sure Crew is doing things, I see how they clean cut around the ball fields up there. That costs the towns money. But and if they won't have celebrations, they can have the celebration and they can utilize the money where they want to, right?
Right, yeah. Steve, I agree with you. Donating the money to the town for this event I think is very worthy to do that.
Well, do you want to up each, there's be time to do it. In other words, give $2,500 to each town for
things like that.
Rec / whatever they want to utilize it for.
It's the last.
Oh, I can't wait. We're late.
It's the last Saturday in the month, isn't it? 25th? Okay.
I was thinking about time and if you didn't do it tonight.
Oh, the money.
But if that's the case, you would be able to.
Yeah, but if they need, if you give it to them on a Thursday night, what are they going to need it for by Saturday? I get you. I don't know, just anyway.
So just to continue the discussion, and I'm kind of jumping ahead, I know there are 2 donation requests, so if we deny this donation, decline this request, how would we?
The other one is not a monetary request. Greenview, they're asking for us to lead to
a service.
Right. It's a service.
Waive fees connected with the service.
And when we
in
pick
a
up
sense, a
the
monetary
debris,
request,
we can
right?
burn the debris. So that's not going to cost the county anything.
I guess I'm asking for. I'm guessing I'm asking for a trade-off. If we do not approve this, would the board be willing? Because now you hear my public hearing comment. Would the board be willing to up the money that goes to rec and let the towns utilize it where they want to, whether they want to educate children about black history, whether they want to turn the lights on late so they can play soccer together, whatever they decide to do. But we have, that funding is, I've been on this board for now going on 16 years, and that's the same funding. And don't you think the price of lights have gone up, gas is going up for lawnmowers? It's not fair for the towns on that part of it. I mean, we got kids that's in the county that's going to those ball games and will go to this event that lives in the county. And we just have to trust our towns utilizing the money like we have to have that trust.
What I'm saying, Mr. Bowen, what I'm saying is that there are many, many organizations in the county.
I know. I guess.
And when you give to one and not give to the others when they request, then you leave a bad taste in people's mouth.
Amen.
So and then we're dealing with taxpayers' money.
But we're talking about giving to the towns in order to give to the organizations.
That's only because they don't have a 501.
Well, not necessarily.
Well, let's throw that out the window. We don't really care about that right now.
Mr. Constant, do you know, have we donated to organizations previously?
I don't know the status of the 501c3 status on STEPS or Piedmont Senior Resources. Are they in that same category, Ms. Tomer?
If I said yes, I would be confident to 100%.
Okay.
But I know they are entities that provide community services.
Right.
That is allowable.
I mean, we've turned down that, we have turned some things down, like I think of, I don't know, was it a veteran cemetery or something, I can't remember. But like, didn't we approve something with the, I don't know, with homeless or help feed people? I just can't remember. I don't know. But I don't know if it's that 501. That's the problem. I don't know that either.
Well, again, the workaround for this group not being a 501 is going through Blackstone. Just like the, and I know I'm jumping ahead a little bit, the Greenview Cemetery request is also one.
Or is that next, isn't it?
That would be the next one, but that one is to the chamber because they're the one that sponsored that cleanup. That was held, I think, last weekend.
That was for the.
They're not asking for a money donation. They're asking for
fee, like basically giving a free dumpster.
Yes.
But the code section, which I did include at the back of the memo for Juneteenth, that lists all the different groups that you can contribute to.
Yeah, I got you.
And for this group, if next year they're 501(c), they can come back. I think they could even come back through the, ideally, they would come back through the budget process for FY24. But there's, there is a mechanism to give them what they've asked for this year.
Right, I get you. I didn't hear anybody making a commitment about giving some more extra money to the towns. I didn't hear that.
I said,
Oh, but we have to do that next week.
yeah, I mean, I said, yeah.
Because it's been the same, it's been the $2,000, man, for 20 years. Right, Sermon? I mean, you've been here longer than I have, right?
Yeah, we've always maintained that we were not going to get involved with giving taxpayers' money to different organizations.
I'm not, that's not what I asked you. What I'm asking you.
That's what I'm.
No, what I'm saying is, not organizations, how long have we been giving $2,000 to each town for rec?
We did it for a while.
Yeah, it's been done since I've been on the board. Right.
Yeah.
That's why I say you put, because we need to go up on that anyway. That's my whole point. And then if they want to utilize it for celebration or whatever they want to, they can. Hopefully they'll, as long as it's towards the children of Nottoway, that's the thought of it. But we can't tell the town, once we give it to them, once we give the $2,000, they don't have to spend it on the rec.
Right.
Right. There's no rule says they can have to do that.
So we have a motion on the floor to decline this request.
Are you changing your motion, Sherman, or does it stand?
I mean, the way to get around this, if you're gonna get around it, is to donate to the town.
But that's what we said.
I still have a problem with that.
So it won't defeat the whole, so it won't defeat the whole, so it won't defeat the whole situation. What if you just gave each town $500 more and call it the rec, or whatever you want to call it? That way you'll still, so now next year Katie says, well, we gave $2,500. Uh-oh. Oh, Lord. Here we go. Here come the party people.
No,
No.
I think everyone does need to realize, though, that if, and Ms. Martin can correct me if I'm wrong, but the Recreation Association is one large entity now in the county. So it's not a matter of what the town of Burkeville's going to do. I don't think that the other two towns contribute in the same manner that the town of Blackstone does.
Oh, okay, right. So one town might be just using it for the lights or whatever they need to do. Anyway.
Just think that's important.
Let's go open. Where are y'all? All right, we got a motion, so I can't.
All right, motion to decline, still on the floor?
Right.
All right, all in favor?
That's a,
Any opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
The motion fails.
What does that mean?
We can make another motion.
That means nothing to that.
We're going to need,
I
we're
know
going
I'm
to need
going
an
to be
affirmative
called
action.
a screw.
We
We can make another motion.
So now we would,
You need an affirmative
an
motion.
affirmative action.
Okay, so I move to contribute $500 to the town of Blackstone for the purpose of offsetting costs incurred in support of 2022's Juneteenth celebration.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second for discussion.
All right,
Would you put it in that, add on to that motion to assist with the vision to accept each other and educating others on Black history? Would you just add that to the motion?
I will add that to the
that's
motion.
that,
I have no
tickled.
problem.
I'm happy now.
all right, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
All right, that motion passes.
Now to the, if I may, Madam Chairman, to the Greenview.
Yes.
Much of the same information relative to the statutory provisions. This, however, is an in-kind donation request, and this event has already been held. So the staff recommendation is that the board act to waive the fees.
Any questions for Mr. Costin?
No,
No.
Do we have a motion to waive the fees?
I so move.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. Dumpster fees for the Greenview Cemetery project are waived.
Thank you all.
All right, Ms. Tomer, consent items.
Madam Chair, members of the board, you all have been provided a copy of the consent agenda in your package. Just as a brief, it contains the May operational expenditures for all funds. It contains 2 erroneous personal property assessments totaling $42.79 and 5 budget adjustments totaling $124,097. One of those is for central dispatch, one is for the treasurer's office, and one is for the electoral board and registrar combined. There are 2 for the school included in that. At the beginning of the meeting, the board took action to amend that consent agenda to include that 1 additional budget adjustment for the No Kid Hungry Grant for school food service in the amount of $50,000. This is essentially a procedural inclusion. That was before the board in a school board package earlier in the fiscal year, and it was just overlooked for formal action. So we do need that included. Lastly, the consent agenda includes the annual distribution breakdown of the vehicle license fee that is entirely given to County Emergency Services. That total collection just for informational purposes, that's going to be distributed is $208,110.
So we'd need a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented with the addition of the school food service budget adjustment.
I move to approve the consent agenda, including the food service grant, $50,000.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Any questions on correspondence and information items in the package? Mr. Costin, County Administrator Report.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Madam Chairman, members of the board, ladies and gentlemen, I have provided in my report just a quick rundown of different events that I have been attended since the last meeting. I will note that I had an opportunity to meet with the new commandant at Fort Pickett, Colonel Shaver, and have extended to him an opportunity, invitation anytime to appear before you all and just give you updates on what's happening out there at Fort Pickett. I think the most noteworthy thing here is to remind everyone that the board set a public hearing for redistricting at their next regular meeting. But so that folks are aware, we'll start the advertising process on that very soon. But a wall-size map and a copy of the proposed resolution is available in our office. And we have shared that information with the school board in light of the recent resignation of the District 3 school board member, so that they can work with Mr. Reynolds, Mr. Rodney Reynolds, on setting up a special election. Now, of course, our plan was that we weren't under the gun in any respect, because the November elections are not local elections. They're not dependent on the Nottoway County election districts. Well, that's now changed. So we'll have to move with some deliberate speed to make sure that we can get this redistricting done. County Attorney has reviewed the ordinance. We did make one tweak to what you saw last month. We'll make sure it's in your packet. There was some confusing language in that resolution about when it became effective. It became effective immediately and upon the Office of Attorney General's review and consent, and retroactive to January 22. So it didn't make a whole lot of sense. So it's been somewhat, it will be before you in a slightly revised manner that ties it down to your adoption in the consent of the Attorney General. And with that, you will have your, what I said at the beginning of this year was probably your biggest project out of the way.
Madam Chair, I just want to clarify something. So here's, tell me if I'm wrong here. Okay, so this is the sticky wicky. When we redistrict, we change district, well, we changed all the districts, really.
But mine was the most.
Yours was the most, District
District 3.
3.
Yes.
So what you're saying is, the school board appoints somebody temporarily. They have to do that in so many days. Right. And then now November election is going to happen. So if they appoint someone that's on the border, or what, let's use that, of District 2 or 4 or whatever we want to say, and that person is interested in being elected in November, but the new district and puts them in another district, then they're disqualified. Am I saying that right?
That's correct.
That's right.
That's correct.
That's
Okay.
right.
That's correct.
So it's got to be some, so
That's why I
the
shared-
general public needs to see the agreement on the redistricting. They need to see that. So that helps with what their decision making, I guess.
Right.
And Mr. Reynolds, Rodney Reynolds, is here this evening. He also explained to me today that anybody who's interested in running has, the dates again, if someone's interested in running, the deadline is like next Tuesday?
For all the other local offices that are up in November, the deadline will be Tuesday the 21st. However, I believe it's Virginia State Code 24.2-507 that allows for a writ to be submitted to the court for a school board member, for a school board office that has come up, and it would be classified as somewhat of a special election. The code also allows for any candidate who would wish to be on the ballot for that seat. It gives them somewhat of an extension to file all of their documents, something like 81 days prior to the November 8th election. So it would give candidates ample time to submit the documents, because the next 2 or 3 days would definitely not.
I got you. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Reynolds. But to your point, Mr. Bowen, they kind of need to know.
Yeah, we weren't
what
really
those-
concerned about it until, now this changed the whole.
It wasn't an issue until the resignation. Yeah. So that election district map now becomes a little bit more contemporary in its implementation. And that, Madam Chairman, is all I have in the way of a report, but I'd be happy to take any questions that any member of the board has.
Any questions for Mr. Costin? Any final comments tonight from members of the board? Ms. Simmons?
Yes, I do have one. I would like to announce, which I guess this is probably the best place, planning a class reunion for years 1971 through 1981 Nottoway High School students. And it's going to be August 13th at Burkeville at the park. I did 10 years because some classes haven't had a reunion, some classes have. But it will give everybody opportunity to get out. We've been cooped up in the house for a couple of years, and hopefully people will take the opportunity to come. It will be August 13th at the Burkeville Park from 3 until 8. It will be a cookout style event, and for classes that graduated from Nottoway High School. The reason I picked 71 was because that was the first class to graduate from Nottoway High School. 1972 class is coming up on 50 years. And so I know they want to be a part. And anyone that wants to be a part of it, they can contact me and I'll give you the information.
Was this Nottoway High or Nottoway Senior High?
Nottoway Senior High.
Okay.
Yes, 3 to 8. Burkeville, bring a lawn chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Vaughn, any comments tonight? Mr. Bowen?
Yeah, just one, so Mr. Costin is going to get us some information. And the other information I'm now requesting, because Miss Katie actually literally threw me a curveball. Can we ask the towns, what are they doing with that rec money? I like to know now. I mean, so different, it's not set up like it was 20 years ago, is it? Okay.
We could ask.
Yeah, I'm just curious now, I don't know. Wow. Okay, that's all I wanted. You can always hear. No matter. Rec is good this time. It's good for kids.
All right. We're going to need a motion to enter closed session.
Nottoway High School.
All right. Wait on Miss Helen.
It used to be Lupe. Huh? What do we do?
Closed session.
Need a motion to enter closed session.
Y'all talking about money over at high school. Sherman ain't go to school.
Motion to enter closed session. I move that the Board of Supervisors of Nottoway County, Virginia adjourn into closed meeting pursuant to the Code of Virginia 2.2-3711A3, discussion or consideration of the acquisition of real property for a public purpose or of the disposition of publicly held real property, where discussion is in an open meeting would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiating strategy of the public body, specifically property in or near town of Crew, 2.2-3711A7, for the consultation with legal counsel and briefing by staff members on consultants pertaining to the actual and probable litigation, where such consultation, or briefing in open meeting would adversely affect the negotiating or litigating posture of the public body, specifically regarding zoning, litigation, and litigation concerning personnel. And 2.2-3711A1, assignment and performance of Pacific County employees specifically related to personnel matters, now pending in county administration.
All right, motion's on the floor. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. This meeting will now enter closed session.
Mr. County Administrator.
Sir.
Can I call you tomorrow?
Sure. You got the number?
Peace out.
Okay.
What I'm afraid of is when you open it up and start giving away money, taxpayers' money,
Yeah, you don't want to wear a mask. The governor stopped that a long time ago.
This meeting will now reconvene in open session. Will you provide a motion for certification of closed session?
Whereas the Nottaway County Board of Supervisors had convened an executive meeting on this date pursuant to the affirmative recorded vote and in accordance with the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, and whereas 2.2-3712D of the Code of Virginia requires of certification by this Board of Supervisors that such executive meeting was conducted in conformity with Virginia law. Now therefore be it resolved that the Nottaway County Board of Supervisors hereby certify that to the best of each member's knowledge, 1, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements by Virginia law were discussed in the executive meeting to which the certification resolution applies. And 2, only such public business matters as were identified in the motion convening the executive meeting were here discussed or considered by the Board of Supervisors. And 3, no action was taken in the executive meeting regarding the items discussed.
All right, we have a motion for certification. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Costin, will you roll call the board?
Yes, ma'am. Supervisor Bowen, do you so certify?
Yes.
Supervisor Simmons, do you so certify?
Yes.
Supervisor Vaughn, do you so certify?
Yes.
And Supervisor and Chairman Shackleton, do you so certify?
Yes.
And I'll note for the record that Mr. Rourke did not participate in tonight's meeting to any degree, any extent.
All right, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
This meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Lynn.
Oh, yeah, we're good. Yeah. I think it was a good meeting, and we're
Well, you gotta have honest conversation.
Mr. Steve, you have 2 minutes?
Yes, please, not a long time.
It won't be a long time, 'cause I know you have to get home and apologize for all what you did today.
I do that all the time.
Good night, y'all.
30 hours.